You don't think the government should have control over life or death. You
Hmm.
don't think that the government should have control over us being drafted. These are all
Hmm.
sovereignty arguments, right?
Hmm.
Do you think the government should be able to tax us?
Um, I would say yes, because I think that if you are benefiting from a society, which our taxes go to things like the roads,
Hmm.
um, education, health insurance,
Yeah,
and we could say the military as well.
yeah.
We do benefit from these things.
You
So
would
I would
benefit from
say
conscription too.
I don't know if we benefited from conscription during Vietnam, because again, uh, I do feel like
But
we
you
are
think
never
we
going
benefited
to
from
fight a
conscription in World
war.
War II, right?
Mm, I think the rest of the world probably benefited more than we did.
Okay. But do you see how strange it is to me? And
Hmm.
this, I hear this from progressives a lot. Draft
Hmm.
bad, prison bad, government power over life and death bad, right? Government power over
Hmm.
being able to tax you against your will good. And the
Hmm.
justification is always the same. Well, it's because you get something out of it. But here's the thing that is always so bothersome to me about this. So if I show up to your house, right, and I rob one
Hmm.
third of everything that's in your house, right, and then I
Hmm.
leave you with $2, haven't I? Didn't you get something out of it?
Well, you're just a random person robbing me. Or you
Yeah.
mean, are you building the road outside of my house?
Yeah, well,
Are
but no,
you?
that doesn't matter though. I left you with something.
I don't think that's the same as taxation, because again, when the government takes my taxes, now mind you, I
But
have a
it's the
lot of
same as the
feelings about what
justification for
the
taxes, is my point. Like the justification is it's okay because you get something out of it. If that's the case, then if I leave you $2, you got something out of it.
I think that probably the benefit, well, ideally, the benefit of paying taxes
Hmm.
would equal out to the money that I'm paying into the system, right? So like
No, I don't think it
when I pay
is.
my taxes, I would also agree that it isn't, which bothers me. I think that, Americans,
Like
we should have
how does
more
my
say
tax
over where our
like my
taxes
taxes
go.
going towards the allocation of trans advocacy, gay rights, going towards the ideas of social justice, going towards the idea like in Michigan
Mhm.
when Gretchen Whitmer took a bunch of the treasury in COVID relief and spent it on minority disaffected rates of COVID-19 instead of
Mhm.
putting it towards critical infrastructure. How is that good for me exactly? How are these things actually beneficial to me?
Are you from Michigan?
Yeah. I live in Michigan.
Oh, okay. Um, well, I suppose that would be beneficial to other
Yeah, it would
Michiganders,
be
but
beneficial to not me, right?
presumably you also drive on the roads, right? And
Yeah,
are
do
you
you
children?
how much of my taxes do you think need to be spent on roads? Like let's say communally
Uh-huh.
in Michigan, I pay $20 a year in road tax. Don't you think communally if everybody in Michigan paid that, it'd probably cover the roads? But I'll just grant it even higher. Let's say $200 a year. Two hundred
Hmm.
dollars a year from every person in Michigan communally. Now we got the roads taken care of, right? What the else am I getting here? What am I getting that's so great?
Public education is also, that's pretty good,
Well, let's
right?
take a look. Where do we rank in public education?
Poorly.
Yeah.
Our schools suck.
Yeah. And who's,
Which
by
I
the
think is
way,
a
and who's in charge of those? Women, right? Women are the ones who
no
get,
child left behind,
well,
George
aren't
Bush.
women the ones who get all the degrees in education? And they're the ones who inundated the education system. They're basically in charge of education in the United States, and it's been an abysmal failure, right? So I look at this and I think, well, wait a second. So what I'm getting for my taxes is I'm getting subpar education, some of the worst in the world, by the way. Right?
Hmm.
There's
I
other
agree.
there's
Yeah.
other terrible. I mean, there's like terrible third world nations that do better than we do in reading and things like this. So I'm not getting that. So I have to opt out to homeschool kids so that they can even read and write by the time they're old enough to take on the world, because they're not going to learn that in school. What they're going to learn in school is how to have sex, right? They're going to learn how to have sex, and they're going to learn all sorts of social degeneracy and all kinds of crazy. They're not learning to read and write. They're learning how to engage in like modern social dynamics, which are generally pretty terrible for kids, especially when you introduce smartphones, technology, things like that. And I get roads, right? And the roads in Michigan, I don't know if you've ever driven on them, but they suck. right? I mean, they're just terrible. So what the f- am I really getting here? Like, what is the deal? What is it that I get really for my taxes?
Well, I don't know a lot about
Well,
Michigan.
forget Michigan,
However,
just period.
I would say that I think that in general, my goodness, did George Bush not implement the No Child Left Behind policy, and did Reagan not gut funding for public education? Because I do think that the funding is certainly an
Why
issue.
take a second
There's many
and hang
teachers.
on.
There's
Take
many.
take a second
Okay.
and look up who spends the most on public education in the world.
So what I got was the United States spends most on public education globally, both in terms of total expenditure and per pupil spending, while other countries like Luxembourg and Norway may spend more per student in certain education levels or as a percentage of GDP. The US overall investment in education
So it
is the
can't be
highest.
funding, can it? It must be
Is
something
that by
else. It
percentage or
literally
is
just
it
told
by
you. It's
okay,
per
yeah.
both.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay.
We spend the most both per
I think
person
that
and in general. So how could
would
it
you
be?
agree
Hang
that
on,
like
hang on. Let me
administration
just
is
ask. How could it possibly be that progressives really believe that funding is the issue when we literally spend so much so much more than other nations, and this is the product we get?
well again, I think you would agree that like the administration is bloated, and also funding can be determined by area and tax
So pay
bracket.
teachers less?
No, teachers I wouldn't consider to be admin. Admin is like the bureaucrats,
Well,
essentially.
let's find out. What do public schools spend the most on in the United States?
So this is in US public schools, the largest expenditure is consistently on instruction, particularly teacher salaries
Oh,
and
wait, what was it? It
benefits.
was teacher salary.
Teacher salaries
Uh-huh.
and benefits.
Yeah, so
But teachers also
so
make
wait, so hang on.
so little in
So now just so
comparison
you
to
know, now we've established that not only do we spend the most, but then you say when it's bloated, right? The whole thing is bloated. I say, well, wouldn't you cut teacher salaries? Well, we don't spend it all. That's exactly what we spend it all on, isn't it? So we're paying these people. We spend the most amount of money paying these
Mhm.
people to not teach our kids anything. How is that a good idea? Doesn't that sound like a terrible idea? The whole reason I wanted to have this discussion with you is so I could show you. I'm not some
Mhm.
frothing, foaming at the mouth crazy person. The opposite. The truth is that I've just invested a ton of time into researching how these different infrastructure or these different programs work and how the world around me works. The reason you didn't know that we spend the most on education, the reason you didn't know that we spend the most in schools on teacher salaries is because you've been fed a pack of lies. Like what do you think you're really getting for for the purposes of education in schools? Like what do you think any of this social justice does for you or your kids or the people around you, or any of this bloated spending in teachers' salaries who are always complaining they need to get paid more, and yet they get paid some of the highest wages that teachers get paid anywhere in the world, and we spend the most amount of money on their salaries. Like what else can we
25,000
do?
to 87,000?
Yeah, comparably. So we're doing a comparable, like what is comparable? We're spending the most amount of
I
money in the world, and most of it's going to teacher salaries.
I mean, is it because we just have a lot of people in the US?
No, it's because, well, no.
Well, it's also we have very few social nets compared to other countries. So, educators are going to have to spend more to exist in the
Don't you
US.
think that an
It's
obvious
also
idea
by
is that if you bring in tons and tons and tons and
Mhm.
tons of people from very poor nations, that you're going to have to spend a ton more money on their education because they don't speak the language, they don't, things like that. Like, how is that? How that's not helpful to us in any way, shape, or form. It just takes away and reallocates resources away from domestically born citizens. It seems so, again, so silly to me. Why? How much of our money, capital, and treasure should we be spending on all of these people? This massive influx of people.